Good morning, everybody. It's me, Mitch, and today I want to present some information to you that I think will forever change the way that you view the carnivore diet. This is something that we don't normally think about, and presenting things in a certain light sometimes trigger a real deep understanding, and I'm convinced that this will. So I want to talk about nutrition. I mean, nutrition is a word that we bandy about and we use everywhere. I mean, do we really understand what nutrition really means, and how really important the concept of nutrition is? We talk about things as being nutritious, and then somehow the word delicious always seems to go with it. We see the word nutritious on all the packaging, ironically, for the junk that's not very nutritious at all. We see things have added nutrition. What we really should be thinking about is the meaning of the words malnutrition, undernourished. These are where the problems are. And what does that really mean? What does it really mean to say somebody is malnourished? So we got to stop using that word nutrition as loosely as we do. And what we need to do, in my opinion, is understand exactly the ramifications of being malnourished or undernourished, and the whys that's so important. The human body is a machine more miraculous than most of us realize, because most of us basically don't have an idea of what's really going on inside our bodies. We're not aware of it consciously. Trillions of cells, each individual little factories, constantly, every second of every day, going through biochemical reactions that maintain the cell, all the processes of life that have to happen, or we would just decompose. And these things happen at a molecular level, and we don't have the technology yet to actually look at these processes in an electron microscope, because an electron microscope can't see things that small. So all we've been able to do is identify the actual chemistry that's going on, and we've been able to visualize in our mind's eye, or maybe do a few drawings of things. And some of those drawings basically are just chemical formulas for the different proteins and things that are being affected in these reactions, but we haven't been able to see it. Not anything close to what is really happening. So there's a biologist who happens to be an incredible animator named Drew Berry. Don't know if he's any relation to Ken Berry, but Drew Berry has an organization, and they have put tremendous amount of work and energy into creating the most lifelike animations of the biological processes that I've ever seen. And I'm going to put a link down in the show notes to his channel, and I would urge everybody to subscribe, because what happens when you watch these things is a sense of reality and wonderment comes over you when you actually imagine that in each one of your trillion cells, on a millisecond by millisecond basis, every minute of every day that you're alive, these processes are happening at speeds that'll blow your mind. And this is the machinery of life. And if any of these processes don't work the way they're supposed to, something dies. That something might be an individual cell, which is normal, and a new cell gets replaced, gets built from mitosis, where the cells divide. Itself a miraculous, complicated series of events, which we couldn't picture in our minds what's really going on. And Drew Berry has given us a glimpse into that fabulous chemistry. And once you see that, at least for me, it made me regard this human body not just as a temple, which everybody refers to it, but as a biological machine more complicated than anything that we can imagine. And that's where nutrition comes in, because in each one of these biochemical processes that Mr. Berry so elegantly illustrates, raw building materials are needed. We need amino acids, and we've all heard about amino acids, but very few of us know where they come from, or what they are, or what the body does with them. If you know that, then you understand that every one of the 25,000 proteins that we have in our body is nothing more than a programmed sequence of amino acids, and there's 20 amino acids, put together in a certain order that builds a particular protein that becomes the machinery and the building material of life. So if you go back to the basic elements of nutrition, if we don't get all of the 20 amino acids that we need, we're short on building materials. Our machinery can't do its job, and diseases and conditions, especially chronic conditions, happen. And that's just one way to look at nutrition. Another way to look at nutrition is that that's where the body's energy comes from. And that's a whole separate thing, and involves a whole separate cascade of biological processes to create the energy we need to power all of these other processes, while they go about their job of fixing things and rebuilding things to make sure that we remain alive. So consuming energy, proper energy, is also important. And excuse me while I beat my eggs. So We also need to be properly nourished. We need minerals that are just elements like calcium, potassium, magnesium, sodium. We need those because they, at a molecular level, form functions in all of these different, and many of these different processes. We also need vitamins, which are other chemicals that serve the purpose of building materials and materials we need to run our machinery. If all of those building materials are present, and there's only two ways we can get any of those building materials. One of them is from what they call endogenous forms, and endogenous means from inside. You've all heard the word exogenous. That means from outside. It means the body can't make it. For example, there are 20 amino acids, but only about half of them are actually made by our machinery out of other components. And the other amino acids are exogenous, and they're called essential amino acids. So when you hear the term essential amino acids, it means we're not capable of making them. We have to get them from somewhere outside. That somewhere in the history of our species has always been, since there wasn't a Walgreens with all of these so-called supplements for sale, all of our essential amino acids that we need exogenously came from the food we ate, which is why the food we eat is so important. And that's why when you hear the term nutrient dense, it is the single most important thing about the food you're about to eat. More important than the taste, more important than anything. If it doesn't have the nutrients that your body needs to deliver the raw materials that your cells need for every function they perform, it basically cannot be considered food. And unfortunately, most of the crap that the human race eats these days is not food. It's not food. It may taste good. More than likely we're addicted to it. But if the definition of food is something you eat that is broken down to provide your body with the nutrition and the nutrients it needs to do all of its jobs, it's not food. And if a nutrition or a nutrient doesn't have even a small amount or a few of these basic required nutrients to maintain the functions of life, we are mal or undernourished. Now, that's where the carnivore diet comes in. The carnivore diet has everything. It is comprised of the foods that we evolved on. The only time that we may have any discrepancies with that is if the actual foods themselves have changed over time. And that has happened to a certain degree, but not enough to make it less than the healthiest way to eat. And if you think that you need plants, we've all learned you don't. And if you think you need plants because they taste good or they give you variety and all that other stuff, we don't need that. We may want that. There may be a addictive aspect to it. There may be a social aspect to it. Whatever the reason, you don't need them because if you're eating just the animal products, and the animal products have basically all the raw building materials that you need, except for what isn't in the animals we eat that might have been in the animals we eat 10,000 years ago, then that's all we need to identify. And as far as supplementing goes, all we need to supplement might be the things that, like iodine and other electrolytes that you're not getting because they're not in the soil that grew the grass that the animals ate. And that's something we need to be aware of, but we got that pretty well figured out. And I've been taking a electrolyte supplement and a drop of iodine every day and eating nothing but meat. Today, I'm eating bacon and eggs and 1 pound of hamburger. That is going to be my entire food for the day. In that 1 pound of hamburger, in this half a pound of bacon and 4 eggs, I will get everything, every amino acid, every vitamin, most minerals that I need to maintain my body and all its machinery at its optimum performance and health. And what's going on inside me is what's supposed to, which is why I don't feel the need to eat all the time. And that's what triggers the need for us to eat all the time. The fact that the body is missing something, and our animal brain knows that it has to come from somewhere outside. We are driven to just eat in the hopes and the slight chance that that particular amino acid or that particular mineral might be in something we eat. And when it's not in something we eat, we want to eat more. And I think that the lack of any of these nutrients that the body needs to do its job is what lies at the root cause of overeating and our obsession with food. Because I've proven to myself that the minute that I properly nourished my body, everything changed. I'm going to eat bacon, eggs, and hamburger today, and if I never ate bacon, eggs, and hamburger, anything other than that for the rest of my life, I'd be tickled to death. I love the food I'm eating. I have no desire to eat anything else because after a year and 3 months on carnivore, my brain has learned that it doesn't need anything else. And there's no need to drive me to eat any of this other stuff. And that's why I'm convinced that the carnivore diet is the only diet that'll produce these results. I hate to say it, and I know the keto people hate me, but as long as you're eating other things, you're probably not getting enough of what you really need. Plus, you're introducing substances into your body that are toxic and just get in the way. Anti-nutrients that keep the body from absorbing the nutrients that are really in your food and triggering all of these other events where you're on a constant hunt and search for the building materials you need. I'm going to eat I'll call it breakfast. But think about that. Try to look at nutrition or elevate the word nutrition or the concept of nutrition to the top of the things that you understand and the main reason that you're doing this lifestyle. Not to lose weight, but to achieve optimum health and allow your brain to take the rest of the day off and not have to worry about being on a 24/7 hunt to give it what it needs to do its job. You give it what it needs. Then you take the rest of the day off. Eat meat.